Chapter 3. Dafeng. The news of the 100 longevity peach spread extremely fast. In just a few months, hundreds of islands in the 1,000-island sea had spread the news, and the news was still fermenting rapidly. 100 lifespan peaches and 100 lifespan peach. It wasn't that the more there were, the more people cared. On the contrary, the less there were, the more it was worth cherishing. There was still one left, and there wouldn't be a second one in 100 years. This 100 longevity peach was snatched by an innate realm cultivator, only at the innate realm. For a while, the strongest Jindan realm islanders who hadn't entered the innate residue realm at the gate and ran towards the 9-5 islands. 9-5 Island, inside the Tiger Prison Pass. Gu Qin and Gu Han sat in a hall of the ancient mansion, listening to their subordinates bring news from all sides. The two of them frowned slightly, falling into a moment of contemplation. Big brother, nowadays more and more cultivators are approaching my ancient mansion. Constantly monitoring my ancient mansion. The situation is a bit bad. Gu Han frowned and said. Gu Qin nodded and said, this time, through the king-sex relationship, I also requested the Hallmaster, who promised to shelter my ancient mansion. That's why the people outside don't dare to be reckless. They're just monitoring. They are waiting for Righteous Father to return. But Gu Han revealed a bitter smile. Don't worry, Righteous Father is smarter than you. Nowadays, around the ancient mansion, there are countless cultivators. How could Righteous Father rashly barge back? Don't worry, what should be done? We still do what we do. Just pretend they don't exist. Gu Qin said in a deep voice. This I know. I'm just worried about Righteous Father's safety. Gu Han worriedly said. Don't worry about Righteous Father. Righteous Father is a dragon. Now has entered the innate. As if the dragon into the sea, the four sides of the small, difficult to not be able to Righteous Father. Gu Qin said in a deep voice. Gu Han nodded, and could only comfort himself so much. King Sect. In the middle of the game, between Long Wanqing and Grandmaster Liu Nian. The two of them were playing against each other, and Long Wanqing frowned slightly. Grandmaster, do you think Gu Hai this time? Will he return safely? Long Wanqing frowned. Hallmaster needn't worry. The battle of the innate remnant boundary. I saw how powerful Gu Hai is. One person, alone against tens of thousands of people. A person who can fight tens of thousands of people alone. Do you think that in a situation where the enemy is clear and we are in the dark, will there still be danger? Master Liu Nian landed his son and laughed. This is different from the innate remnant realm. In the innate remnant realm, everyone is at the innate realm. Long Wanqing Falling Sun frowned. You're right, but even if the innate remnant realm, he, Gu Hai, isn't at the peak of the innate realm. Hallmaster, don't worry about it. Just send someone to protect Gu Hai's to Righteous Sons. It's also an explanation to him. After all, he really helped you find the unborn. Master Liu Nian shook his head and said, it's just that servant Ding has been trying to avenge Meng Tai, yet. Difficult. Master Liu Nian laughed. Long Wanqing nodded. The Hall of One Piece had the rules of the Hall of One Piece. This time, Gu Hai had found the unliving man, and had indeed done himself a great favor. But he had killed Meng Tai, leaving Long Wanqing at a loss as to how to make a decision. Hallmaster, you just drag it out. Oh, I see that Gu Hai isn't an oil lamp either. Since Hallmaster Ding wants to kill Gu Hai, let them fight it out themselves. Master Liu Nian's eyes narrowed slightly as he said. Long Wanqing's expression moved and she nodded. By the way, that divine mechanism battalion master, Li Haoran, you stay away from him. Master Liu Nian frowned and said. Why? Grandmaster, I've noticed that you've been targeting Li Haoran this entire journey. Long Wanqing frowned as she looked towards Master Liu Nian. Master Liu Nian shook his head and said, Hallmaster, remember the explanation your mother had given you before she died? Long Wanqing bit her lip, somewhat reluctantly, but, eventually, she took a few strong breaths. and suppressed the depression in her heart before nodding. My mother said that she would listen to the Grandmaster in all matters. Seeing Long Wanqing's depressed expression, Grandmaster Liu Nian sighed slightly and said, "Li Haoran, this person is a lordly figure. Back then, he pursued your mother and was eventually rejected by her." "Oh, pursued my mother?" Long Wanqing was surprised. "Not bad. Li Haoran made that achievement at a young age, with the Divine Mechanism Battalion conquering the 4 directions. No one in the world knows about the Divine Mechanism Battalion. Such an outstanding man would naturally attract countless heterosexuals. But this person is too arrogant and has too strong of a purpose. He has never indulged in the female sex. And your mother naturally saw that a woman who followed him would not have a good happiness," Master Liunian explained. "I think this is the prejudice of outsiders." Long Wanqing seemed as if she wanted to defend Li Haoran. Master Liu Nian shook his head and said, "Hallmaster, I know your current state of mind, and I also know that it won't stop you for long. I only have one request. Before your mother's great revenge is avenged, she must not get too close to Li Haoran. Is that okay?" Long Wanqing looked at Master Liu Nian. After a moment of silence, she nodded. "Master, don't worry. The revenge for killing my mother is not shared by all. Before I take revenge, I won't have any other thoughts." "That's good." Grandmaster Liu Nian nodded. King's Sect, in a large hall. In front of Li Haoran, who was clad in gold armor, there was a huge map spread out flat. The map was marked, but it was the detailed topography of the 9 and 5 islands, as well as the topography of the 4 directions sea islands. In front of him stood a group of Shenji Battalion disciples. "Battalion Master, more and more cultivators are now gathering towards the 9-5 islands," a subordinate respectfully said. Li Haoran looked at the map and said indifferently, "Jumping clowns, not enough to fear." "Yes, but news has just come in that some days ago, in the northern waters, Zhao Long and Bosha appeared. To sea beasts with monstrous ferocious might, battling in the sea for several days." Li Haoran raised his eyebrows and moved his gaze away from the map. "My subordinate has also just explored it." Li Haoran, however, looked into the distance beyond the Great Hall, his eyes narrowing slightly. "These 2 beasts, are they sensing something?" "My subordinate doesn't know. Send someone to keep an eye on these 2 beasts with all their might. As long as they appear, report immediately," Li Haoran said in a deep voice. "Yes." King's Sect, another large hall. The old crone, Ding Rui, looked at Patriarch Song Jia with her crutch. "Servant Master Ding, more and more cultivators are coming, and all the news of the ancient sea has been spread out. The batch of sea ships that departed from Chonyuan Island have already arrived. However, there's been no sign of ancient sea." Patriarch Song Jia frowned. "Take your time to look for him. Now that more and more people are looking for him, I'll see where he'll run to." A cold light flashed in Servant Master Ding's eyes. "We've already sent people to monitor Gu Hai's family. Should we arrest them?" "No need. They are the bait. Sooner or later, Gu Hai will appear. He won't be able to run away," Ding Rui said in a cold voice. Patriarch Song Jia nodded. "By the way, all these years, letting you guys guard him, how's the interrogation going?" Ding Rui looked towards Patriarch Song Jia. "There is still no news." Patriarch Song shook his head. Ding Rui frowned and nodded. More and more cultivators were entering the 9-5 islands. As long as they entered the 9-5 islands, they would be searched by a group of other cultivators. And having had the experience of Gu Hai's disguise to escape from Chonyuan Island once, the 4 parties of cultivators checked extra carefully. However, there was still no news of Gu Hai. Everyone was looking for Gu Hai, waiting for Gu Hai to throw himself into the net. Unbeknownst to them, Gu Hai had already arrived on the 9-5 island several days ago. It was just that this arrival was quite legendary. Gu Hai had a bronze mask on his head, his hands and feet were chained up, and his clothes were tattered. He was being driven away with whips. In addition to Gu Hai, there were 100 other people who were similarly like this. Each one was chained up, with a bronze mask on their head up to their nose, revealing a pair of eyes, surveying the 4 directions. Clatter. The sound of chains dragging on the ground seemed incomparably pale. Snap. Quickly go. Still want to eat the whip? Hurry up. A group of black-clothed men wrestled with their whips and lashed the crowd of bronze-masked men. Roar. Even though the crowd of bronze-masked men were being whipped, they still showed ruthless colors and roared. HMPH. What are you roaring for? Still want to eat the whip, don't you? Go. Snap. The man in black fiercely lashed the crowd of bronze-masked men. Gu Hai did not struggle and followed the crowd as they walked earlier. My lord, I'm revealing my identity, perhaps, came Chen Chanshan's panicked voice from behind him. Chen Chanshan and Gao Xianzi, as well, were all chained up at this moment, wearing bronze masks on their heads. Revealing your identity. Aren't you afraid that they will kill to silence you? Gao Xianzi said in a deep voice from the side. But what to do now? Chen Chanshan was as if he was scared to tears. Be at ease, find a chance to escape again, Gu Hai whispered. Can't escape, can't escape. Helmsman, do you know? This mask on our head, it will explode. If you escape, they will detonate the mask. If you forcefully dismantle the bronze mask, it will also explode. It will explode. Moreover, our cultivation, all of us have been sealed. The special sealing techniques of the Dafeng gang. We are now mortals, Chen Chanshan despaired. Great Abundance gang, Chen Chanshan. Do you know where this is? Gu Hai said in a deep voice. Chen Chanshan nodded and smiled bitterly. Yes, I've been here before. I just couldn't imagine that we would come back like this today. This is the 9-5 Island, and the Great Abundance gang is one of the 5 major clans of the 9-5 Island. Great Abundance gang, one of the 5 great sects of the 9-5 Islands. Gao Xianzi was puzzled. Chen Chanshan nodded. The Great Abundance gang is also the richest sect on the 9-5 Islands. They don't need to mine spirit stones, but they have a constant supply of them, and there are countless experts within the gang. Oh, the Great Abundance gang, to be precise, is a big casino amongst cultivators, inviting cultivators from all directions of the Thousand Islands Sea to come and participate in gambling. And we, nowadays, have become the Great Abundance gang's gambling equipment. Chen Chanshan laughed bitterly. Gambling tools. Yes, gambling paraphernalia. One of the items of the Great Abundance gang's gambling, the Colosseum. All the bronze-faced people are all poor and vicious people from the Thousand Islands Sea. Of course, it seems that they are all advertised to the public. I only now realize that this is not the case. Or else, how did we get caught in as well? The fighting arena. What does it mean? It is in a large square. People fight with people, or people fight with beasts, than the fighters. The weakest cultivation is also innate realm, the strongest. Have Jindan realm cultivators. They are definitely the most vicious group of people. In the arena to kill each other, until the other party died, fighting very bloody, very savage. There will be specialized people responsible for placing bets for you. I came to gamble back then, but I never thought that one day I would engage in life and death combat for others to watch for fun, Chen Chanshan said in horror. At this moment, the crowd of bronze-masked people had already been driven to the mouth of a huge valley. The valley was in all directions. Thick fog rolled in, and Gu Hai could tell at a glance that it was shrouded by a huge formation. Evil Man Valley. This is the Evil Man Valley. Chen Chanshan's face was hard to see.